And please put your hands together to welcome Shri Rajeev Chandrasekhar ji, the Honorable Union Minister of State for Entrepreneurship, Skill Development, Electronics and Information Technology. I invite you, sir, to kindly grace the stage with your presence. Also inviting Shri S. Unnikrishnan Nair, Director VSSC, Shri Arvind Kumar, Director General STPI, Mr. Pranav Roach, President Hughes Network Systems, Mr. Deepak Mathur, Executive Vice President Global Sales Video SES, and Dr. Subba Pavuluri to kindly grace the stage with their presence. Kindly take your seats and all mobile phones put onto silent mode. Thank you. Namaskar and good morning. Honorable Chief Guest, Shri Rajeev Chandrasekhar ji, Honorable Union Minister of State for Entrepreneurship, Skill Development, Electronics and Information Technology, eminent dignitaries on the dais, senior government officials, distinguished panelists, speakers and participants, respected members of the press and media, ladies and gentlemen, today I have the proud privilege in welcoming you all to the opening ceremony of Day 2 of India Space Congress 2022. And we would also like to welcome on the stage Mr. Umamaheshwaran, Director HSFC. Kindly join this panel, sir, for the opening ceremony. You're there, sir. Thank you, sir. Warm welcome to you, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, the India Space Congress 2022 is on the topic of leveraging space to power next-gen communications and businesses, which is being organized by the SETCOM Industry Association, SIA-India, supported by Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, Department of Telecommunications, Ministry of Communications, Government of India, Department of Defense Production, Ministry of Defense, Government of India, Niti Aayog, and New Space India Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, the conference today is supported by Ananth Technologies, Dassault Systems, Nelco, SES, Pacific, and the state partners are the Government of Uttar Pradesh and Government of Andhra Pradesh. And ladies and gentlemen, the august presence of the Honorable Minister and eminent dignitaries today with us is a source of inspiration for us. And I would request Dr. Subba Pavuluri to kindly do the honors of welcoming our eminent guests with floral bouquets. We welcome and honor Shri Rajeev Chandrasekhar ji, the Honorable Union Minister of State for Entrepreneurship, Skill Development, Electronics and Information Technology. A very warm welcome to you, sir. We welcome Shri Arvind Kumar, Director General STPI with the floral bouquet. Warm welcome to you, sir. We welcome Mr. Deepak Mathur, Executive Vice President Global Sales Video SES with the floral bouquet. A warm welcome to you, sir. We welcome Mr. Pranav Roach, President Hughes Network Systems with the floral bouquet. Warm welcome to you, sir. And we welcome Mr. Umamaheshwaran with the floral bouquet. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Subba, for kindly doing the honors. And ladies and gentlemen, as is customary, we begin every auspicious occasion by lighting the ceremonial lamp and invoking the gods and goddesses and seek their blessings for the success of our endeavors. I may now request the Honorable Chief Guest and our eminent dignitaries to kindly do the honors of lighting the ceremonial lamp and inaugurate the Day 2 of India Space Congress 2022. And let's put our hands together on the ceremonial inauguration of Day 2 of India Space Congress 2022. And ladies and gentlemen, for the benefit of all our international delegates and participants present here with us today, it is said that the diya when lit emits light. And this light is the very life source that gives us energy. Each wick being lit and passed from one to another symbolizes the sharing of knowledge. Each wick being lit today is a prayer for global peace and solidarity. We thank the Honorable Minister and our dignitaries for doing the honors. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Subba Pavuluri is the president of SIA-India, is also the CMD of Ananth Technologies Limited. He founded Ananth Technologies in the year 1993, which is the first private industry to set up assembly, integration, and testing facilities for satellite and launch vehicles in India. He's a technologist and entrepreneur with extensive experience in Indian space program ISRO for over 4 decades. And may I now invite Dr. Subba Pavuluri to kindly begin the proceedings of day 2 with his welcome address.
Namaskar and good morning to everybody. Distinguished Honorable Minister Rajeev and other distinguished guests on the dais and the distinguished friends in the audience. Namaskar and good morning to everybody. We started, for the benefit of those who were not present yesterday, I would like to just trace and go back to yesterday's sessions also on that a bit. Sir, yesterday the inaugural address was given by another minister from Madhya Pradesh, and we had Dr. Kumar, then we had Dr. Somanath, other distinguished guests here. And basically, as you know, this is in the liberalized era of space. We are looking at what's going to be how to leverage the space technologies to power new next generation communication businesses in the country. And the first time that we're giving the impetus to not just technology, but how to derive to the technology to be used for the business in this country and to drive the space economy and thus the economy of the country on that. So to that extent, we also derived various sessions in such a way that gives more impetus on the space economy and those related activities on that. So in that connectivity, today we're also going to have something very interesting things about the startups and how the startups can be funded, and also how to make these youngsters to be the part of the space economy in the country. So to the extent, various sessions have also been drawn up on that, and hopefully everything is going on very well today also. Thank you very much, and welcome you all once again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for those warm words of welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, the Hughes Network System is a company that specializes in satellite broadband solutions and services. It provides customers with a satellite internet service, HughesNet. In addition, the company offers HughesOn, a portfolio of managed network and digital media solutions for enterprises with multiple locations, such as restaurant, retail, petroleum and convenience stores, financial services, and the government agencies. And I now have the privilege in inviting Mr. Pranav Roach, President Hughes Network Systems, to kindly present the industry keynote address. Please put your hands together to welcome him.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start off by thanking the organizers for putting together this event, and it's a wonderful format, and it couldn't have come at a more opportune time, given the fact that we are at the sort of cusp of a new liberalized spacecom industry and era in the country. And with that, I'll take this opportunity here this morning to speak about the state of the SATCOM globally, and where are we in India, and where are we headed, and what can Spacecom and commercial satellites offer the country. So first, I'll take this opportunity to speak about the importance of the satellite technology and the role of the satellite industry to help provide connectivity, especially the broadband access in the country. Globally, there's been a tremendous and an unprecedented rise in the innovation and investment in the satellite, commercial satellite space over the past few years. Just by way of some facts and some data, in the last year, there have been over 1,700 commercial satellites that were deployed during 2021. And this happened despite the pandemic and a record number of satellite launches into orbit over the 2021 year. And there was almost over 40% rise in the launches and the satellites that were deployed compared to 2020. Next is that connected devices continue to dominate the ground services. And we have a variety of devices that are now linked to satellites that are circling in the space in orbit. By the end of 2021, a total of approximately 4,800 satellites circled the globe, and this is an increase of over 100% in the last 5 years. And this has obviously taken a great amount of innovation, a great amount of investment, not just by established industry players, some of the names that you see over here, but also several new entrants and very prominent people, all of those names who are now coming into this space economy. Over the past 5 years, there's also been a record number of satellites that have been deployed, manufactured, launched, and this has led to an increased affordability and productivity and opened new markets and new applications. All of this has helped bring benefits of the satellite technology, which is reliable and affordable connectivity and broadband access to users all over the world. In India, as we know, the satellite space has been the domain of the government, and also it has accomplished a significant amount of technology and coverage in the last 30, 40 years that this program has been sort of in operation. And since inception, the space program in India has focused on technology independence, and that was essential given the state where the country was at that point in time. The INSAT fleet served a vital purpose and helped bring benefits of satellite technology to users all over India. But having said that, this was mostly limited to the C-band and the KU band, and which kind of limited access, affordability, and the price. And we believe that a robust private satellite sector is now needed, and with the developments that are taking place both in the geo and the non-geo satellites, the country will greatly benefit from these developments that are taking place all over the world. We would greatly welcome the policy which is now evolved and we believe ready to be announced. Just a few words on how can satellite industry contribute to the country. It's been recognized that broadband is a must for inclusive development, whether it is social, economic, or business development. If you see the statistics from ICU, which I'm sure the audience over here knows, that increase in 10% in broadband penetration yields over 1% growth in GDP. And broadband penetration in India, in the rural areas at least, continues to be low, just over 30% against a national average of 50%. And this is when we define broadband at 512K and not in tens of megs. That's the global norm. If we use a higher threshold, these numbers will reduce somewhat. And it's also, I think, now a universally recognized fact that only satellites can deliver what I would call truly ubiquitous, high quality, reliable, and affordable broadband. And that is the need, I think, that is sort of visible in India, at least today, with a large part of the population and users who live in underserved or unserved areas. The government has announced its intent to allow private investment in the satellite sector, and we believe that the process of formulating a new Spacecom policy is in the works. We eagerly await the announcement of this new policy, which will not only promote investments in the sector, but help create jobs both in the manufacturing and services, and help provide vital, ubiquitous connectivity to broadband all across the country. And with that, I'd like to thank everybody here. I'd like to thank the organizers and my panelists and the Honorable Minister. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that insightful address. Ladies and gentlemen, SES is a satellite operator and ground communications provider focusing on end-to-end solutions in two key businesses units, the SES Video and SES Networks. SES connects broadcast, telecom, corporate, and the government customers and impacts the lives of billions of people worldwide. And ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Mr. Deepak Mathur, Executive Vice President, Global Sales, Video, SES, to kindly present the industry keynote address. Let's put our hands together to welcome.
Shri Chandrasekhar, namaskar. Thank you so much for honoring this occasion with your presence. Dr. Subba, thank you very much for the organization of what I think is an incredible event. Very much look forward to the continuing second day and for the days to come. What I wanted to do today was to spend a little bit of time on actually taking over from some of the comments that Pranav made and expand on them a little bit. We want to talk of why is there this imminent, incredible excitement that's happening in the global satellite sector and what that means in the Indian context. And what we've seen, what's happening around the world is an incredible amount of innovation where we've gone from what used to be a geostationary satellite sector only, and we've gone into multi-orbits, which means we have a new fleet of MEO satellites. SES is already operating and has been operating for a number of years, middle Earth orbit satellites. And we now have this incredible innovation around Starlink, OneWeb, Project Kuiper, which is being brought on by Amazon, which are LEO satellites. And so just wanted to spend a couple of minutes to level set why and what are the scale of investments and what are the capabilities that each one of these orbits brings to bear. So geostationary satellites, as everyone knows, offers the benefit of large coverage. So with 3 satellites, you essentially cover the entire planet. It's really good because it's very cost effective at delivering, for example, video or sending the same content to a number of people. Its investment threshold is also much lower. You can cover the globe with probably about 600 million of investment, and you have the ability to deliver the same content to everyone. It has some challenges, though. It has a challenge of latency, which means it's 600 milliseconds up and down, and it has a problem of not being able to deliver broadband to the home in a cost-effective manner. So the next evolution that we've seen is MEO, which are middle Earth satellites. 11 satellites allows you global coverage. It now it's much closer to the Earth, so only 150 milliseconds of delay, which makes it very good for enterprise applications. It allows you to use it for real-time intelligence gathering, anything that is extremely latency sensitive. And the benefit is, again, now you're scaling up the investment. You need about 1.5 to 2 billion in order to form a MEO constellation. And the next area that we've seen this incredible wave of investment in is in the LEO constellations. There are arguments whether they are an appropriate investment for everyone, but what folks like Starlink are doing is investing close to between 5 to 10 billion, And that's what's going to be needed to be able to provide global ubiquitous coverage using LEO systems. We should take a minute to understand why this innovation is happening, right? And it's because there are many segments of the market that have traditionally not been able to be served by satellite because satellite capacity, particularly from GEO, was too expensive or didn't have the appropriate throughput that was needed for that application. If you look at the y-axis, what we're talking about is flexibility, the ability to deploy capacity on demand effectively. So greater flexibility as you go from lower to higher. And then on the bottom is throughput, the amount of capacity that you can deploy at any single given point in time. And what you'll see is there are use cases where video broadcast, for example, needs low flexibility and throughput, but it's incredibly important to deliver video applications across the globe. An example is that the total capacity that is leased for video distribution globally is about 2.5 billion in transponder leases, but it has a multiplier of nearly 100 billion in revenues that get created by virtue of delivering that video content. So it's a very important multiplier that occurs. If you go to the top right-hand corner of this grid, what you'll see is high throughput platforms. For example, when you're flying an unmanned drone, you need to be able to take from the drone hundreds of megabits in order to get them back to a command and control center. That means you need very high flexibility because you've got to be able to follow the drone where it's going, as an example, and you need a lot of throughput. You can't get away with a small amount of megabits because these platforms now have high-resolution cameras. They're delivering a lot of content from the theater that they're operating in. Another example could be a naval vessel that is going in a flotilla, as an example, that needs an enormous amount of bandwidth because it's being used for command and control. It needs high flexibility, but it also needs very high throughput. LEO systems and MEO systems are giving these new capabilities that weren't possible in a GEO environment, and therefore you're seeing a lot of investments that are going into these multi-orbit solutions. GEO for its use cases, GEO HTS, high throughput satellites for its use cases, middle Earth orbit for high flexibility, high throughput, and then finally for consumer broadband and cellular backhaul, starting to use LEO systems such as OneWeb, such as Starlink. So it's really important to keep that in context. Why we're incredibly excited with what's happening in India at the moment is we stand at the threshold of sort of the next phase of SATCOM reforms. And I wanted to go back a little bit to understand what has happened so far to get us to where we are and why we believe that the next phase of reforms is really important. So we all remember the days where we had a single channel that was Doordarshan. I remember growing up watching black and white TV at home, right? And I remember the Asiad games when we had sort of the first color transmissions. It was one became two channels. And at the point that we started to unlock the regulatory framework that allowed private players such as Z, such as Star to come in, we started to see this incredible takeoff in what individuals were able to receive as consumers and the economic benefit that that created. Today, the employment that is created by the media sector counts in crores. The amount of job employment and revenue that is created from direct-to-home satellite and the cable industry runs into, and just the GST collections, for example, run well into 10,000 crores. This capability was essentially unlocked by reforms, and therefore we think that the next phase of reforms are going to be incredibly important as we move into the next phase. I just wanted to share a couple of sort of key points. India delivers content at the cheapest rate with the greatest variety as compared to any other market in the world. An individual today can get 400 channels at 170 to 250 rupees, right? 400 channels at 170 to 250 rupees. No other country in the world has this level of diversity, has this incredible commercial offering. And the reason for that is we had a highly competitive DTH market, which was competing against the cable networks. It was a thriving ecosystem, and what it has done, as I said, has created employment just directly for 6 lakh Indians that are involved in the DTH businesses. The distribution and installation is another 3 lakhs. And if you look at the total the economy that has been created out of this, it runs well into 2 lakh crores that has been enabled by these reforms. So when we think of SATCOM reform, we shouldn't think of it only in the context of what it means for the satellite sector, but the enabler that it creates for many, many other industries, which include employment in television production, the advertising industry, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really important that we continue to grow. And sort of the last bullet I have there is only 100 Ku-band transponders and 30 C-band transponders powers this incredible ecosystem, right? So, and we're an incredibly important linchpin because without satellite distribution, none of the rest of this would be possible. So it's a really important link between thinking of SATCOM reform and the multiplier effect it can have on the economy, which I think is really important. TV continues to be an incredibly important means of delivery, and I'll skip over this, but I wanted to spend a couple of minutes on the idea of streaming. We're all talking about, you know, Netflix on our phones. We're all talking about the enablement of streaming services. And the question was, can streaming replace linear satellite delivered television? And if you start to dig into the economics, it's essentially impossible. No matter how much fiber we deploy across the country, the economics of delivering a linear channel over satellite remain unchallenged. You would need to deliver 2 high-definition channels to a home for 2 hours a day. That's it. You would need to invest 200 times the investment that you need in delivering that same content over satellite. So the amount of unproductive investment that would go if you started to move toward a streaming-only solution makes it very clear that it's unlikely that streaming will replace satellite as a core distribution mechanism. The other point, and Dr. Subba and I were having a brief chat about it this morning, if you wanted to pass every home in India with broadband, the investment that you need is $500 per home connected, right? That's approximately the amount of money that you would need to connect each home on fiber. If you compare that with the revenues that you can create, it makes sense to do this in highly dense and urban environments, but the minute you get out into the Northeast, you get into rural areas, the value of doing fiber to the home becomes less and less relevant and more cost prohibitive. So the outcome is going to be inevitably a combination of technologies which includes wireless, fixed wireline, and satellite in order to deliver the services that we need. I wanted to spend a minute on data, and here you will see our curves are not quite as sharp and as exciting, and that's because we continue to be in a very regulated environment when it comes to data connectivity in particular. And I think this is where the next wave of SATCOM reforms can really make a difference. Historically, we've had geostationary satellites that have been delivering content, and that's really what kick-started the television revolution in India. Unlocking the regulatory framework for multi-orbit satellites is what is going to unlock broadband penetration and the delivery of data across the country. It is the only way that you're going to connect all 6 lakh villages in India with reliable broadband. It is going to be the only way that you're able to make sure that every Gram Panchayat has e-governance, e-health, financial inclusion initiatives. So it's going to be a core part of any future solution. Pranav made reference to this. A 10% increase in broadband penetration has a 1.3% impact on GDP, but a 3% impact on employment, a 5 to 10% increase in productivity. It has the ability to increase efficiency by as much as 15 times. I mean, think about the carpenter that you had to wait for 10 years ago, right? You had to ask for a carpenter to come to your house. Today, you're able to call him on demand. Just think of how many more jobs he can do in a day. This is the multiplier effect of that efficiency that comes from broadband inclusion. The second wave of reforms that we need in India require several things. One is the opening up of the NGSO sector in a very aggressive, but a progressive and a safe, from a security perspective, environment. That's number one. We have to ensure that Ka band is allowed both on the gateway side as well as on the user terminal side. This is going to be essential if we're going to start to be able to use the power of MEO satellites as well as geo satellites. the BSS bands have been very oddly constrained in India. BSS in the ITU regulatory framework is intended to be a broadcast band. In India, for historical reasons, we've never approved the use of those bands, and so we have very important two-way frequencies being used for broadcast, which makes no sense. So the opening up of the BSS bands ensures that you're going to be able to use the FSS bands, the two-way bands, for the applications that they're intended for, and BSS bands for broadcast, which is what they're intended for. And finally, as a company that's been involved in the Indian space sector for over 25 years, I can only say that we're eagerly awaiting for the new SATCOM policy. We want to become a participant in India as an Indian company to create employment opportunities, investments in India. So very much looking forward to the new SATCOM reforms. And with that, sir, I will conclude my comments, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that informative presentation from you. And ladies and gentlemen, moving on, we have with us Shri Arvind Kumar, Director General, STPI. Ladies and gentlemen, the Software Technology Parks of India is a premier S&T organization under the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MeitY, engaged in promoting IT and ITS industry, innovation, R&D, startups, product and IP creation in the field of emerging technologies like IoT, blockchain, artificial intelligence, machine learning, computer vision, robotics, robotic process automation, augmented and virtual reality, animation and visual effect, data science, and analytics for various domains like gaming, fintech, agritech, medtech, autonomous connected electric and shared ACES mobility, ASDM, cybersecurity, industry 4.0, drone efficiency, augmentation, etc. And I now have the privilege in inviting for the keynote address, Shri Arvind Kumar, Director General, STPI. Let's put our hands together to welcome him.
Good morning. Honorable Union Minister for Electronics and IT, Skill Development and Entrepreneur Shri Rajeev Chandrasekhar ji, EVP Global Sales Video SES Shri Deepak Mathur ji, President SIA Dr. Subba ji, other dignitaries on the dais, dignitaries of the dais, all technocrats, ladies and gentlemen, people from media, and ladies and gentlemen. It's proud privilege and great honor to share dais with Honorable Minister and to be part of this very important event on India Space Congress. Space has always been exciting and interesting for all of us. Initially, it was interesting who is going in space, who was the first person to go into space. Now, it is interesting from the different perspective. It is interesting from technical perspective, from startup perspective. How much data is shared with our budding entrepreneurship? How much data has been used to create product in artificial intelligence? Space is always interesting, always exciting, and space always came not only for rescue operations in disaster management or something. Space technology has always been interesting to introduce new technology anywhere in the world. First, IT industry. Initially, in 92-93, biggest issue of IT industry was connectivity from India to abroad. how to export software from this country. This is satellite communication. STPI in 1993, through Intelsat F3, created first international gateway. And that gateway has provided n into 64 kilobits per second speed, which Videsh Sanchar Nigam was used to give 64 kilobits per second. They have created Earth Station. Department of Space was kind enough to provide permission to Earth Station at the earliest possible time. And we have created Earth Station at number of STPI centers. And software engineers or big companies, whether Infosys, Wipro, they were using that connectivity to export the software from this country. In 93-94, where the revenue was $2-3 billion US, which today is for space. Now we have $227 billion US. Whole revolution in television sector came when satellite channels started. In telecom, ubiquitous connectivity came when the satellite started. So this whole space satellite communication always came for the rescue of any technology, introduction of any technology in this world. Be at STPI, now creating a large ecosystem for startup, along with Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology under the guidance of Honorable Minister. And now those startups, new entrepreneurs, they want a lot of data, whether for disaster management, whether for climate assessment, or for any such things. And that data has to be shared with them if we really want to use this technology of space for the large benefit of this country. Today we have around $360 billion US world market on this, and our share is, India's share is not more than 2%, is $7.2 billion US or so. And we have target of around 240, in 2040, $1 trillion. So if we really want a good share in that data which has been created by the satellite communication, by the space technology, that should be provided to the startup. Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, along with STPI, created a large ecosystem to nurture startups in this country. Those are domain specific. FinTech, we have at Chennai. For IoT, big data, we have Mohali. For ESDM, we have Bhubaneswar and Delhi. For automobiles, we have at Pune. Similar Center for Entrepreneurship, and those Center for Entrepreneurship is not typical basic research center. Their basic objective is to create entrepreneurship, to create enterprise, to create business. They are not on basic research, they are not even on the applied research, they are on transitional research. How to create software product, how to convert your idea into POC and POC into the product. And the space can help a lot in this sector. Ease of doing business in space sectors is perhaps, I think, the most important parameters. Still, you have to go, if you want to put an Earth station, you have to go apex body, NOCC, WPC, then once the WPC has made that clear, then for uplink frequency. So if we really want to use this, leverage this space technology, two things are immediately required. One is ease of doing business in this space of space. And number two, supporting a startup ecosystem by creating number of Center for Entrepreneurship exclusively for space tech. We are here to support. We have created an ecosystem which starts from boarding of a startup, mentoring, bootstrapping, connecting them to VC, providing market access to them. We are doing all end-to-end to them. And the Department of Space can collaborate with us, can collaborate with the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology to do this thing. And the second is Department of Space should go from that mindset, everything is closed, so many things are closed just because of the national security. I remember when we were doing the telecom, Honorable Minister was chairman of one of the mobile company. He used to say, why this whole spectrum is owned by the defense? And we consistently work on that. This is because of his own effort that 18 megahertz, which was not available for the mobile communication, he consistently made the effort, and then 55 megahertz has been given by the defense. So therefore, Department of Space must back to the drawing board and see how much we commercialize things, what much is required. I'm not saying you should compromise with the national security. I'm not saying you should not take their data into account, which is required for the national security. But they should also think how do we contribute in the economy of this country. There could be something which is very important for national security perspective. But at the same time, it is also required how to increase business in this country. We have around 120 startups as per economic survey data. There is a lot of scope to create multiple startup ecosystem in this country. We have largest space companies in the space is in US, which is 5,500. We have mere 365 space company. I think those companies can be increased. And this, somebody, my previous speaker said, this satellite communication is the only technology, space is the only thing which can provide ubiquitous coverage, which is required for proliferation of 5G, for IoT, and now this government is not working in silos. We are creating integrated policy. Today, space requires semiconductor components. Honorable Minister is already betting, is in mission mode for the semicon project in this country. So this is the time, this is opportunity time where government is not working in silos. 5G spectrum has been auctioned within 3 months, which used to take 3 to 4 years in this country. Every policy which is being made, is implemented by this government. I think this is space, technologies, Department of Space, and those who are working with this space can also take advantage of this opportune time, and there will be no, I think, this time you don't know whether it will come or not. And if you can support a startup, now this human resource, which was liability to this country, now it has become asset by this government by creating a largest ecosystem of the world. So space, we are talking about the public data infrastructures. We are talking civic tech. So this for the civic tech, for climate assessment, these all startup can work a wonderful job. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you for this conference.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that insightful keynote address. And ladies and gentlemen, on the dais we have with us Mr. R. Umamaheshwaran. He's the former project director of GSLV project and has led several positions in Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, VSSC. He was the former scientific secretary ISRO and is representing India in various committees of United Nations and is presently the director of Human Space Flight Center for the prestigious Gaganyaan project of the country. And ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. R. Umamaheshwaran for the special address.
Good morning. Most respected Union Minister Rajeev Chandrasekhar ji, Shri Subba ji, whom I consider as a kind of Bhishmacharya in the electronic private industries, and other honorable distinguished guests on the dais and also off the dais. I'm seeing a lot of friends here and other delegates and participants. First of all, let me express my sincere gratitude to Satcom Industry Association for giving me the privilege to be part of this program. And let me also compliment Satcom Industry Association for arranging this wonderful seminar or kind of conference at a very, very appropriate time. I say this because of two reasons. One may be coincidental and one planned. In fact, as many of you are already aware, 23rd of this month, a couple of days back, it was a landmark day for Indian space area itself, I would say, with the successful launch of GSLV LVM-3 with the 36 low Earth orbit communication satellites of OneWeb. So this is, why I am saying this is landmark, because the first time, of course, LVM-3 was commercialized for, or used for a commercial purpose. And also, there are two names which I would like to mention here. One is ENSIL, the CMD is sitting here, and also InSpace, who were primarily responsible in bringing out this huge successful event. And this particular conference is on the following very close to this event. That's what I said, it's coincidental. Second thing is, it is planned because this is the right time, as many of the speakers have pointed out. The kind of total ecosystem and the total kind of atmosphere, environment all around India is so much transformed and is conducive for us to sit together and discuss these matters like what we are discussing today. I think that is very appropriate because here let me tell you that it is not only for SATCOM, the entire facet of space industry, be it launch vehicle side, be it satellite side, be it application side, or be it the ground station related aspects. The entire gamut of the so-called space activities have been revolutionized by none other than our own Honorable Prime Minister and the government by introducing a series of reforms in 2020, as most of you are aware of. And the idea is that it is not only that ISRO is carrying out the space activities in India, the government wanted the private sector and other stakeholders, the so-called non-governmental entities, to invest in India. And let me underline, the Indian industry, the Indian companies, to invest in India and carry out their space-related activities in India, for India. I think this is the drive that was given by the government, and because of that, these two institutions have come up, which I mentioned earlier. Basically, we didn't have an infrastructure or a mechanism to handhold and guide the private industries to carry out these space activities, be it SATCOM or be it launch vehicle or satellite, as I said earlier. So there the creation of InSpace is coming. Basically, Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. And basically, it is mandated to handhold, promote, as well as regulate the space activities of Indian private entrepreneurs, including startups, MSMEs, and big industries, to invest and carry out their space-related activities so that, as the other speakers were mentioning, contributing to the Indian economy. So that is the guidance, that is the principle. InSpace was formed. I'm also very gratified that in the first 1 year, the baby was born and I was in charge of handling the baby carefully until until a new setup formally took over as a formal in-space program. And I was really amazed by the kind of feedbacks or the kind of positive approaches. More than, in 1 year itself, more than 45 industries and academy and startups came forward with various requirements, which includes all the facets of space industry, as I said, launch vehicles, satellite applications, etc. And now, as I understand, Dr. Pavan Goenka has taken over, and it has gone up to more than 100 now. And so many memoranda of understandings have been signed. Our in-space people are also sitting here. And the entire atmosphere or the entire environment is bubbling with so many activities. And I think in another month's time, we can see the first small satellite launch by 2 private industries or 2 startups very soon, maybe in one month's time. So this is the kind of activities that is going on, I would say, in a real frenzy, I would say, which is slowly transforming. And the present launch, which I talked about, that is the launch of OneWeb, 36 satellites, is also a milestone event. It was done, of course, technically it is a milestone event also because it was done in a very innovative way, wherein the spent cryo stage has been ingeniously utilized for multi-orbit ejections, which is a very, very risky, at the same time, very challenging prospect which we could achieve. So, and this has created a lot of confidence also in the international arena with respect to the capability that we have. You know, PSLV, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, has already demonstrated its versatility in various aspects of launching satellites. But GSLV or LVM-3 as such, which is our biggest rocket and which is going to be used for our human space mission also, the versatility has been demonstrated. So in many facets, this has been a landmark day for us. And this also, the next 36 satellites of OneWeb also is going to be launched in maybe 3-4 months' time, maybe February, March time, we will be seeing the next launch also. So definitely we are into the so-called multi-billion market that ENSIL has. Everything is now carried out by the public sector unit of Department of Space, that is New Space India Limited. So the total dimension of space activities, as far as the non-ISRO activities are concerned, is gearing up like anything. So the real we should achieve, and we are striving, and ultimately we should at a very fast pace we should reach the so-called Atmanirbharta in all the fields that is related to this, as Honorable Prime Minister always says. And let me tell you that even though we are specific to SATCOM here, it is not only confined to SATCOM, the entire industry, I would say, because as somebody was mentioning here, it is not only space, it is electronics also is extremely important. And unless, let me tell you from the bottom of my heart that unless we achieve Atmanirbharta in electronics, we will not be a power in anywhere in the world. And this is precisely what our Honorable Minister himself has taken as a kind of tapasya, I would say, because I have been interacting. And the semicon industry, I'm sure you please watch, in another couple of years, the entire Indian atmosphere is going to be transformed. The way the planning is going on, the way investments are going on, and the way it is we are attracting people to come and invest in India, as well as encouraging our own startups and other industries to build components. It is very unfortunate that even a really space qualified a resistor, an inductor or a capacitor is not being made in India. This I am telling everywhere, because we have to change that kind of perspective. We have to make it into our strength and make those components and sell it across the world, saying that what is coming from India is the best and at an economic cost. That is a challenge, and that is where, unless you do that, unless you achieve that, there is no Atmanirbharta. And the DLA, here I would like to specifically mention the design-linked initiative scheme, the DLA scheme, which is again launched by Honorable Minister and MIT, wherein a lot of opportunities are being given to industries and private enterprises as well as startups to to come out with proposals of innovative electronic component design, chip design. So I'm also part of that as a chair of one of these committees. So this is the one side of it. At the same time, along with this euphoria and the kind of excitement that is happening here, I would like to mention a word of caution also here, because apart from all these things, apart from all those so-called increasing our own demands, as one our initial speaker was telling, no, we need more and more kind of spectrum, we need more bandwidth, our needs are going on increasing. I would say in a real exponential way, and the technology is also rising to the occasion to achieve this. At the same time, we also should be responsible with respect to long-term sustainabilities. There are aspects, there are issues which are of great concern with respect to long-term sustainability of the humankind itself. And that also, as a human being, we are also responsible for that. So whatever we do in order to satisfy our own growing needs, we also should be responsible in achieving those needs without compromising on the goal of long-term sustainability, the knowledge or the awareness that ultimately we should sustain also. Especially, I am the chairman of the Committee for Long-Term Sustainability in UN Corpus, United Nations Committee for Outer Space, and there it gives me a lot of information and knowledge, and I would say enlightenment with respect to how various countries perceive the kind of threat perceptions with respect to the long-term sustainability. And there are solutions to achieve that without compromising our needs also. Only thing, all of us should sit together and see that those solutions are implemented in such a way that our needs are satisfied. At the same time, we are not compromising on our own existence in the future. We are responsible for the next generation also. So this should be borne in mind. There are issues like the dark sky, wherein the presence of multiple number of satellites in the low Earth orbit is creating problems for astronomers. So they are unable to see. So it is disturbing their views. So these are all some of the fundamental issues that is cropping up in another direction, which also we should be conscious of, and we should make, I would say, conscious effort to, in our design, in our strategy, in our attitude, to see that despite our needs, we should also see that those needs are also taken care of, so that it's a win-win situation for all. So this is what I would like to convey to all of you. Let me wish all the success for this great event that is going on here. May God bless all of us for all the activities that is in store for us in future. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, Dr. Subba is requesting me to talk a few lines on human space flight also. As you all know, the Gaganyaan program, our Indian human space flight, it was announced in 2018 by Honorable Prime Minister, during Independence Day speech. But actually, we had started the activity long back, from 2002 onwards, where it is started with the formation of a study team with respect to how to strategize, whether we are really capable of doing this. And study team gave a report, and that was further studied by another study team, which decided, or which gave a suggestion of what should be the kind of technology that we should use, etc. And subsequently, a pre-project was formed in 2011, wherein some of the essential technology demonstrations were carried out. I would say that it included like your mission, wherein we sent the crew module equivalent and brought it back safely and captured it. So like then pad abort test, wherein we have to demonstrate the safety of the crew, etc. Some initial demonstration activities have been successfully carried out. After which only government also got, I would say, convinced that yes, now it is time to announce and we can go ahead. It was a very tough challenge given to us. We were supposed to complete it in 4 years. That is, this year our Indian should have flown, but unfortunately, let me also say that the COVID struck unexpectedly, and it really set our programs back definitely by 2 years. but now we are trying to gear up for that. We are trying to make up for that. And there are presently lot of experimental activities are going on because, let me tell you that as far as the launch vehicle is concerned, which is again the LVM-3 only, we are ready. All the tests have been completed. The launch vehicle is ready to launch. The crew module, where the humans are supposed to sit and fly, all the design aspects have been completed. We are in the fabrication stage. In maybe within 6 months, we will get the crew module. That is also clear. But two critical aspects which we are now concentrating is, one is of course the astronaut training. The astronauts have been already selected, and they have already completed with the help of our Russian friends the initial phase of their training, and now they are undergoing our Indian space of training in Bangalore that is going on. But most importantly, the critical element or the technological element is called environmental control system. Basically, we have to provide the kind of ambient conditions for which astronauts have to survive. So that environmental control system is a very, very critical technology which we have decided that we will do it on our own. Normally, nobody else will give also. That is another factor, but this always drives us to achieve. So this design is also in the final stage of reaching. But the most important thing is we need to test and demonstrate unambiguously that everything is safe. The crew has to be safe. That is a paramount thing. They have to go and come back safely. So we are initiating a series of ground tests as well as flight tests. The first test, which is called the test vehicle project, which is going to commence from February onwards, wherein we are going to take the crew module to different altitudes, generate failure mode situations, and see that the crew module comes back and lands safely, and we capture it. So this series of tests are going on, which will be culminating in the first unmanned flight without man, but exactly like the manned program by end of next year. By December 2023, we expect to have the first unmanned flight. We are planning to have at least 2 unmanned flights unambiguously, so that we hope that by 24 end or beginning of 25, we will have the first human space flight from India. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that special address, and of course, all the best for all those efforts that are going in. And ladies and gentlemen, today at the India Space Congress, which is being organized by SIA-India, we are honored by the gracious presence of the Honorable Minister of State for Entrepreneurship, Skill Development, Electronics and Information Technology, Shri Rajeev Chandrasekhar ji. And please join me in welcoming the Honorable Minister for the opening address.
Dr. Subba, Mr. Pranav Roach, Mr. Mathur, my colleague in the Ministry of Electronics, Shri Arvind Kumar, and of course, Mr. Umamaheshwaran. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Good morning. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this conference. I recognize I'm not a natural, intuitive invite for things that are satellite and space, because I do my day-to-day work and I earn my salary at a ministry called the Ministry of Electronics, Information Technology, Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. So it may seem that we are a little distant from the matters of space or matters of SATCOM, but I'm here to tell you that we are not. We are as much part of this journey of innovation and expansion of capabilities and capacities in our country as anybody else is. Just a few months ago, I had the privilege and honor of being at the Bangalore launch of the in-space innovation ecosystem, and I noticed some people here from there. And it is one of the highlights of my responsibility that the Honorable Prime Minister has given me, that I get to go travel around the country to universities, colleges, and functions, and meet absolutely brilliant young Indians, brilliant young minds that are, in a lot of ways, resetting the ambitions of our country, resetting the ambitions for themselves and for the sectors and capabilities that they represent. We are, you are aware, as a nation, we are at an interesting inflection point in our history. We are celebrating 75 years of our history as an independent country. So it's a good opportunity to look back at where we have traveled, how far we have traveled. It is also an opportunity to look forward and say, and make some predictions, some thoughts, some views about how far we want to go. And if you had asked this question about our ambitions and our goals as a nation, as a people, as startups, as innovators, pre-COVID, and you ask the same question post-COVID, I suspect that you will find, because I do this a lot and I find the answers are starkly different. I suspect that most of you in this room will find that we are a country of many, many young Indians that have collectively caused, as the Honorable Prime Minister said on August 15, 2021 and repeated on 2022, that they've collectively affirmed that we are, for the next 10 years, going to make it an India decade, and that India decade will be built by innovations and innovators all across the country, a large part of them young, which is, I hasten to add always whenever I talk about young Indians, is not to say that gray-haired Indians like us don't have a role. We will continue to have a role, but a lot of the energy, momentum, and the reimagined ambitions for this new India that the Honorable Prime Minister evangelizes and advocates repeatedly is going to be driven by our young Indians. And this phenomenon post-COVID, this confidence that we have as a nation after we have become one of the few large nations in the world that have navigated the storm of the COVID pandemic, this deeply disruptive disease that laid low economies, lives, and livelihoods. And we have come to the other side of this storm, looking very different from many other nations that continue to struggle with this. Fastest growing economy in the world, the fastest growing innovation ecosystem of the world, recipient of the highest amount of FDI in the world. And if you compare it with other economies which are struggling with inflation and all of those types of issues post-COVID, we really seem like an island or a haven of calm and quiet in an otherwise disturbed, turbulent global environment. And it is that is giving us these reimagined ambitions and confidence to these ambitions in almost all areas of our economy, including in particular the tech sector. I think to a man and woman in this room, we will accept and acknowledge that ISRO has been for a long time, for many, many decades, a shining beacon of excellence in all matters technology for several of us in the tech space in India. The InSpace initiative and the 100-odd startups that have quickly jumped into this ecosystem says that it is no longer necessary to depend only on one organization or one group of people, that we can create an ecosystem. And that ecosystem could be an ecosystem that impacts the overall digital economy of this nation and our goals. So without getting into the SATCOM reforms, because that is clearly not in my pay grade, that's a different minister, that's a different ministry, and I make it a clear rule of mine not to comment on areas that I am not authorized to. So without getting into those areas of reforms and policies and all of that in the whole satellite space, let me give you a slightly different context, and let me give you a context about how important the space sector is and SATCOM sector is in our goal to become a $1 trillion digital economy. In my study in Bangalore, I have this photograph of Wernher von Braun, the legendary rocket scientist. And I have a quote under that. It's an autograph picture, one of the things that I cherish a lot. And there's a quote in there by him that says, and I quote, "The reasons for nations to make investments in space and space technology is that the work in the space area almost certainly creates cutting-edge solutions in the non-space segments." I'm also reading a book, recently published book by an author called Chris Miller. The book is called The Chip War. And it lays out the growth of the semiconductor industry in the US and establishes very simply, with historical fact, that the semiconductor industry in a lot of ways was given a leg up by NASA and the Gemini and the Apollo missions, which were the real first users of microcomputers and microelectronics at that time. So for the digital economy in our country, our own ambitions of being a leading player in the next 10 years in all matters technology, space has significant relevance and is extremely important in our overall blueprint. And let me just share a little bit of our thinking in the ministry about how space and how SATCOM figures in our scheme of things. The ubiquitous internet, bandwidth, latency, reliability, resilience of the internet are almost core to our digital economy strategy, a $1 trillion digital economy goal. You're aware today we have 80 crore, 800 million Indians who are connected online through various thin, thick, broad, not so broad internet access pipes. You are aware that we are rolling out the world's largest rural broadband connectivity project with BharatNet. And we have recently launched 5G with ambitions in a couple of years to move upward in that trajectory in wireless technologies. Our goal is, our Prime Minister's goal is by 25-26 to have 1.2 billion Indians have the ability to connect to the internet directly through their device. And it'll be a combination of all of this and the role of SATCOM and the space segment is an inherent part of this. It is absolutely correct that sometimes broadband has limitations, wireless has limitations, and satellite is clearly emerging as an inherent part of the blueprint of delivering the internet and delivering quality internet to all citizens of India, all enterprises of India. I say this because even today, I'm in charge of a district in Nagaland called Kifire, which is an aspirational district. And even today in Kifire, which is an 8.5-hour drive from Dimapur, which is the nearest airport, the district collector or the district magistrate, whichever way you want to refer to him, his office does not have internet connectivity. So we have, as Government of India, as the Honorable Prime Minister has laid out, our primary mission is to ensure that we deliver the internet and connect every Indian citizen to the accelerating digital government, the accelerating of digitization of our economy. And I think satellite and space will be an important part of that. The second part I just want to share with you in terms of our own thinking and our own goals and ambition is that India's tech sector and the tech economy has grown from 2 decades of being tech services oriented. You know, the Infosys and the TCSs and the Tech Mahindras of the world have grown like that. We have, over the last 5 years, added to that the innovation and startup segments that are the application layer or the app layer on the internet, fintech, consumer tech, e-commerce, all of those, and I think we have a momentum going there that makes us very competitive with the rest of the world in terms of the scale and quality and size and innovation of the application that our startups are creating. But our focus now is also to the nuts and bolts of the internet, the actual underlying electronics, the underlying technology, the devices and products that operate the internet, that power the internet. And it is in that context, you heard both Mr. Umamaheshwaran and Arvind Kumar ji speak about the semiconductor policy. We talk about microelectronics and electronics design and innovation. And we think the space and the SATCOM sectors are going to be interesting, important, and critical use cases or domains that will catalyze startups, catalyze development of devices and electronics that are originating in the Indian ecosystem. So our ambition in a nutshell is not just to be in the global value chains and supply chains of tech solutions or apps alone. As the Honorable Prime Minister said in February 2022, he said that India has, post-COVID, given the deep churn of the value chains and the trade, global trade model as it existed pre-COVID, the opportunity and the ambition and the desire to be a trusted player in the changing and newly emerging global value chains of electronics and microelectronics. And that capability and capacity space has built in other areas. We think in electronics and semiconductors, again, there is a great close partnership between the space ecosystem, the space sector participants, and startups, and the broader semiconductor and electronics goals and innovation goals that we have in the country. I won't take too much longer on this, excepting to say that for many years and many decades, all of these pockets of innovation in the Indian economy operated independently. And there was a reference to that by Mr. Arvind Kumar. In the government of India today, we look at innovation as an all-of-government process, whether it is supercomputing on one end, quantum computing on that end, AI and Web 3.0 on one end, or the devices and products for the next generation, AI compute. These types of disruptions, innovations for the next coming decade will be a collaborative effort by all of the elements that are in the government that are currently today innovating or are in the innovation ecosystem. I have been an entrepreneur for some years. I've been in the tech space for some decades. I'm older than I look. And I can assure you that I have never felt so confident and so excited about the technology ecosystem in India and the ambitions that the technology ecosystem represents. And I'm sure that the Indian Space Congress and the SIA and meetings like this and congregations like this and conversations like this will go a long way to helping this momentum grow faster. And I see an interesting session today called Satellites in the 5G Era and Beyond. And I think in a lot of ways, this meeting or this seminar summarizes what I expect or what I see the space and satellite segment, what it represents. That it is really about creating a significant relevance and significant space in the 5G era and doing so with SATCOM and space technologies. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much indeed, sir, for that very motivating address from you. And ladies and gentlemen, now in the august presence of the Honorable Minister, we would like to exchange the Memorandum of Understandings between SIA-India and the Australia-India Chamber of Commerce Limited. To do the honors, I would like to invite from AICC, Mr. Christopher Mooney. He is the Chairman, AICC. And on behalf of SIA-India, we would like to invite Dr. Subba Pavuluri, President SIA-India, to exchange the MOUs in presence of the Honorable Minister. With your permission, Honorable Minister. Thank you very much indeed, and congratulations to SIA-India and AICC. With that MOU, we look forward to many more fruitful collaborations coming through. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we take this moment to felicitate Ms. Aarti Hola Mani. She has been Secretary General of the ESOA since 2004. She is a member of the World Economic Forum's Global Future Council on Space Technology, Global 5G Coalition Network, and Essential Digital Infrastructure and Services Network. She is going to relinquish her post of Secretary General GSOA in December and moving on to other assignments. She is an Indian face in global space arena, an admirer and supporter of SIA-India. We would request the Honorable Minister to kindly do the honors of felicitating Ms. Aarti Hola Mani. Thank you very much indeed, sir. Congratulations. Thank you very much indeed, sir, for doing the honors. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, once again thanking the Honorable Minister for sparing his valuable time, gracing this occasion and for that motivating address. Also thanking all our eminent dignitaries on the dais for the deliberations we had from them. We close the proceedings of this